Hello there, my name's Clare and Aidan. I'm a meteorologist at the Met Office.
And my name's Aidan McGibbon, also a meteorologist here at the Met Office headquarters. And welcome to the weather studio. It's 1 p.m, it's Tuesday. Each week we stream live to YouTube, to Twitter, and this week Facebook as well. So welcome to anyone new to the weather studio. This isn't a forecast, it's more of a conversation between ourselves. Occasionally we have special guests on, and you, the viewer, you can send us your questions. That's the beauty of broadcasting live. We'll try our best to answer some of the questions you have. We'll cover many of the hot topics, or indeed the cold topics, or the wet topics, or the windy topics, depending on what's going on in the UK and around the world.
So coming up on today's show, we're talking all things autumn. We're talking about autumn colours, the leaves turning, what makes for a beautiful display of those autumn leaves. We're also talking autumn temperatures. I don't know whether you noticed, particularly if you're in the south, stepped out this morning, it was really chilly, but maybe taking your jackets off now, it's turning quite warm. We're talking about diurnal range. And we're talking about high pressure, which will dominate things not only in the south but in the north as we head into the weekend. Will it be a mobile high or a blocking high? And what does that mean for our weather? But also we'll be talking about the autumn equinox, which is happening right now.
Of course, and one good sign that autumn is here is the harvest moon. Beautiful display of the harvest moon last night. Many places were clear. This was a picture sent to us by Graham Madge. And the harvest moon spotted over Exeter yesterday evening. This morning, actually, Exeter was -1. Beautiful clear night, but chilly. And you'll see some orangey colours there. The harvest moon is sort of known as being this big full moon, an orangey colour. But of course, that's not really unique to the harvest moon. You often spot that with other full moons, and when it gets close to the horizon, that's when it turns orangey in a bit way that you get the red sun at sunset. And the size of the moon looks bigger close to the horizon because you've got things like trees. Here's another picture of the harvest moon spotted in Shropshire this morning, also a chilly place this morning following a clear night. Why is it called a harvest moon? Well, it's the full moon that is closest to the autumn equinox, and of course at this time of year, close to the autumn equinox, the sun sets due west, roughly, and the full moon rises at around the same time due east. And so with the full moon rising shortly after the sun sets, you don't get such a lag between the sun and the moon, and so you have lovely bright evenings, ideal for farmers bringing in the harvest.
And look at the colours, they're absolutely stunning and really illuminated very well. It's just so neat, isn't it? Just the way it just pushes up across into the sky there. You
can see the change in colour there, optical effects there, making it look more orangey close to the horizon. And speaking of the autumn equinox, of course, that was on Sunday, the autumn equinox this year. Now, equinox in Latin roughly translates to equal night, and it is roughly when we start to see the nights get longer, the days get shorter, and around this time of year, we'll start to see the nights become longer than the days. But despite what many people think, that doesn't happen on the equinox. And there's a couple of reasons for this. So I've stopped the sunset there at the midpoint of the sun, because on the equinox, well, that's defined as when the midpoint of the sun crosses the horizon, and there's 12 hours between sunrise and sunset at the midpoint of the sun. But of course, that's not how we define sunrise and sunset. If we just play it forward a bit, then you can see that we actually think of sunset as when you start to see the top of the sun disappear. So you need to add a few minutes on either side of the day and make the day a bit longer if you're talking about the actual sunrise and sunset, how they're defined. So the equinox considers the midpoint of the sun, but when we talk about sunrise and sunset, it's the top of the sun. But there's something else going on here, and that's a magic trick. Now look at this photo. Beautiful, romantic photo.
Nice.
And I'm going to shatter the illusion here by saying that they may not actually be seeing the sunset. And the reason is because you've just got the top of the sun showing there, And what happens when the sun sets is that we get something called atmospheric refraction. The light bends above the horizon. So the sun may be a little below the horizon here, but the light from the sun is bending above it because it's going from the vacuum of space into a much more dense atmosphere, and the light is bending. In the same way that you get a straw, you put it in water and it bends, and you get that kind of illusion effect happening. So this is a magic illusion where the top of the sun is visible when the sun is actually
And
below
where
the
we
horizon.
are positioned, we do get a significant dawn and a dusk, whereas if you were sitting on the equator, you can really see the sun sinking very quickly, can't
That's
you?
right. So the effect is enhanced the closer to the poles that you are. And so you have to add another few minutes on the day as well. So if you actually take a look at, say, the midpoint of the UK, Morecambe, then on the equinox on Sunday, the day was 12 hours 9 minutes long. Today it's about 12 hours. And tomorrow, that's when we'll start to see the day shorter than the night. So this is the difference between the equinox and today, what we call the equilux, equal light. But there's something else going on as well, because the refraction, that bending of the light, depends on the weather, because the atmosphere has different densities at different heights and different densities depending on the weather. So when it's cold air, it's more dense, and when it's high pressure, higher densities. And therefore, on a cold day with high pressure, well, you'll get a slightly longer, only by a few seconds, a slightly longer day length. And that's what we've got at the moment. High pressure across the UK, a chilly morning on Tuesday. I'll just put the temperatures on here. And yeah, perhaps today on the equilux, the day length was very slightly longer because of the weather conditions.
But with the weather conditions, many of us will be seeing 12 hours of sunshine because there's not a lot of cloud around, particularly in the south. And it's that time of year where you see some really interesting things regarding air temperature. It's the time of year where we can get some really nice warm days, but also chilly nights, particularly under high pressure. And high pressure certainly is building across more southern parts of the UK. If you did step out this morning, it was really cold. Here in Exeter, the temperature was around 1 or 2 degrees Celsius. However, because the seas are still relatively warm, we've peaked in sea surface temperature only about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we get that influence with our daytime temperatures. The sun still has some strength to it as well, so by day we can see temperatures up into the high teens. And in fact, day on day through till Thursday, we can actually see temperatures creeping up into the 20s. So the diurnal range, and that's the term we use to describe the range of temperature between minima and then maxima between 24 hours, well, it could be up to around 20 or 21 degrees. That's the range of temperature relative to morning and night. And that's quite confusing, really, because you're stepping out first thing, going to school or work. It's quite parky. Come the afternoon, you're taking layers off because it feels like almost like a summer's day. And that's the lovely thing about this time of year when we get high pressure. We get those beautiful warm days, but also those chilly nights where we start seeing isolated air frost. But that's not the only type of air temperature range we can see in this time of year. In fact, tomorrow there's another significant temperature range in Scotland, and that's the temperature range between the southwest and the northeast by day. So this is a different mechanism. It's the air which is laden with moisture and rain pushing up from the southwest, pushes over the highlands of Scotland. As it arrives across the northeast, it's drier, it's warmer due to compression, so you can get a really quite a significant temperature range southwest to northeast, can't you, Aidan?
You can. There's something called the Föhn effect, and you'll notice there 11 degrees where it's raining and it's windy in the west. We're now going into the evening, but it's still mid-teens in the east, and in some parts of eastern Scotland we're going to get close to 20 degrees, aren't we, over the next few days. Northeast England as well, we're going to have this Föhn effect. So very big contrast between west and east of Scotland, northern England over the next few days.
And it's a real warm conveyor belt of air coming up from the southwest, which obviously helps the temperatures as well. That's why we're getting temperatures up into the high teens. But all change come Friday, and we're going to talk more about that in the moment, the forecast into the weekend. Yes, we're still talking high pressure, but are we going to be seeing these values? You
can see the wind direction changing there, quite a significant change. Southwesterlies, northwesterlies. So more on that in a moment. But yeah, we talk about high pressure, especially across southern parts of Britain this week. Lots of sunshine, but also those chilly nights. And those are the ideal ingredients, aren't they, for a beautiful autumn show, because it's at this time of year that we look forward to the autumn leaves changing, different colours, these sorts of colours, golden leaves.
They are just on the turn now, aren't they? And in fact, after such an incredible summer, in fact, my aza dried up quite quickly and we're not seeing any leaf on that at all. Maybe it's down to my gardening techniques. But certainly there are some beautiful colours just on the trees at the moment. It's this time of year where the green leaves slowly turn to those reds and those oranges. And the mechanism behind it is, well, we know that leaves are full of chlorophyll, and the chlorophyll gives us that green colour. However, it's during autumn time, before hibernation, where we see the cut-off of that chlorophyll, and what's left, what is revealed, are the yellows and the oranges. So the colours are always there in the leaf, but you just can't see them because of the dominance of the chlorophyll.
The green masks these colours that are already there. So in a way, it's just the effect of removing the dominant colour. Now we've got the golden colours, but we've also got the red colours, and this is a maple tree.
Yeah, and it's a slightly different mechanism, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's not just about the chlorophyll, it's all about the sugar content of these leaves. And as the sugar content eases, we get something produced called, and the word is anthocyanins. Anthocyanins. And that is a chemical which produces these beautiful reds, which you do see in maple leaf production. Now, there's certain atmospheric conditions which really add and really help these colours to sort of flourish and bloom. And we're seeing them right now, aren't we?
Exactly. You need some bright sunshine by day, and you need some chilly nights, even some frosty nights. And those are the kinds of conditions we've got through this week, or perhaps into the start of next week across parts of the UK. So, well, fingers crossed, that will lead to some beautiful autumn colours, because this weather's happening at the right time of year.
And we're at the right part of the world as well, because we're in the mid-latitudes. The mid-latitudes, this is where we see the deciduous trees. Further north, you see more conifers. Further south, you see more sort of
drought-resistant plants.
So if you're heading over to New England, lucky enough to head over to New England, they see an incredible display of foliage at this time of year, similar latitude to us. So you get those sort of milder winters and milder summers as well. Although we've seen a very different sort of setup over the last few seasons. We've seen some extreme weather in the winter as well as the summer. And how's that really affecting our, say, butterfly population? Well, we've seen some beautiful butterflies over the last few days, photos of them on social media. Now, what's this one called?
This is a speckled wood butterfly, I believe. And if we fast forward also to the picture that someone you know posted online, this is a really beautiful high-resolution picture of a small tortoise shell.
That's just gorgeous.
Butterfly.
And it's my sister-in-law took that. She said there were 2 babies there as well. And you don't really expect butterflies to be really out in bloom, flourishing at this time of year, but...
You associate them with spring and summer.
And also we had such stormy weather last week, but yes, the butterfly population are really going to be benefiting from these warm days through till perhaps Thursday, and that's a gorgeous photo. Please send in your photos. We do feature them on our Twitter site, don't we? Of the moon, or like fauna, flora, just really lovely things which captivate the essence and the magic of this gorgeous season.
You can share them through social media using the hashtag #LoveUKWeather. That's how we got a lot of the pictures of the harvest moon and some beautiful butterfly images as well. So, yeah, we'd love to see some of those. And we've had a few questions come in. George Bedford asks on Facebook, where is the jet stream sitting at the moment?
Well, that's interesting.
Take a look.
Let's take a look, yes.
So this is the high pressure. I'll just pause it here. This is Tuesday afternoon. We've got high pressure across the south of the UK. We've got weather fronts moving across northern parts of Britain, so quite changeable weather in the north, whilst we have sunshine in the south. And if we put the jet stream on...
Look at that.
Well, you can see the link, can't you? The jet stream across northern parts of Britain, riding over this high pressure and bringing in these weather fronts, also the tighter isobars across the north of Britain, leading to those strong winds that we see through Tuesday night and into Wednesday morning. Some really quite gusty winds in places, gales around coasts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. Now, over the next few days, there's very little change, and in fact into the start of next week, in the shape of that jet stream. It tends to undulate across northern parts of Britain. So we keep a repeating pattern, if you like. We're going to have high pressure close to the south, and the jet stream across north of Britain, bringing changeable weather, but also occasionally building high pressure back in. So you can see that pattern. And you mentioned blocking highs and mobile highs. What do you think this is?
It looks like there's some mobility to that. So we saw a blocking high over the winter time, causing some really extreme in temperature. This looks like a very different setup, Aidan.
Yeah, a blocking high would be an area of high pressure that just sits in one place, bringing just the same weather pattern for days or weeks at a time. Now, you can see how this high pressure, well, one moves away through the next few days, another one builds in, the jet stream dips further south. So the jet stream is continuing to bring weather systems from the west to the east. Now, when we have a blocking high, the jet stream tends to be diverted. It tends to be much more loopy, much more wobbly, and you get stuck in a rut. As far as the weather's concerned, it's not always a rut in terms of hot and dry weather. It can be cold weather in the winter, or it could be just unsettled weather. If you have low pressure sitting over the country, we're not really stuck in a rut over the next week or so. But we do have high pressure building in again and again. So these high pressures, these relatively small areas of high pressure move in from the west, decline, and then another one comes in to replace it.
And I think the key thing about a blocking high, it deflects weather systems around the top or around the side of it, and that's not what we're seeing. That's the reason why Scotland's seeing wet and windy weather today, because the high is not strong enough to just keep those weather systems at bay. And that's what's going to happen over the weekend as well. So we talked about the air turning very warm over the next few days, whether it's the Fern effect or
I've put on the temperature map here, so you can see the different colours. And you've got red colours over the next, if I play it, you've got red colours over the UK during Tuesday to Thursday. Increasingly, actually, these orangey colours. So actually a lot of mild air. And the nights are going to become less chilly. So we had some chilly temperatures, or low numbers last night, I should say. Alex always tells me off for saying chilly temperatures. It's low temperatures, chilly feel, and over the next few days we're going to see those chilly nights well, disappear for a time. However, the jet stream continues to wobble back and forth across the UK, and as we approach the weekend, you can see it dives to the dives across the UK from the north. These more bluey colours appear, and so those chilly nights are back.
And temperatures by day, perhaps the mid to high teens rather than creeping into the low 20s.
Yeah.
So I think you'll notice by day. But even so, at this time of year, we just celebrate any time where we see some beautiful sunshine, and we will see the sun. There are a few weak weather fronts moving in for the weekend. It does mean there'll be a little bit of rain around, particularly on Sunday, but even so, most of us will get away with a mostly dry weekend with some sunshine. And we're not complaining, are we? Because we had some stormy weather last week. This week it's a bit quieter in the south, although yesterday was sunny everywhere. And tomorrow, yes, more gales and rain in the north, fine in the south again.
So lots of warm sunshine. This is something that we were talking about before, actually. Ian Gregory on YouTube asks, is this an Indian summer?
Oh, right, OK. So every year we talk about this, and the 25 years I've been forecasting, every year we have to redefine the Indian summer, because a lot of the time when we get lovely spells of warm weather and sunny weather in September, we can almost define it as an extension of the summer. However, for a classic Indian summer, we need a real cold spell where we see some significant air frosts and then a surge of warmth around about October, perhaps early November time. So it's a bit early for an Indian summer, but I think, to be honest, the definition may just become more and more diluted as people just think, well, actually, Indian summer is nice weather from September onwards.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess definitions change over time. And this is a quite historic definition relating to Native Americans, and yeah, it's got all sorts of meanings that go back many, many years. Now, we had a frost last night, we've got some warm weather, so yeah,
okay,
maybe,
you know, the jury's out. We discussed this yesterday.
Me,
Aidan and Alex were discussing it yesterday, and it was about a good half an hour discussion, and we all had different viewpoints.
Yeah,
I think that will continue to be the case. But we do have our own explainer on blocking highs, on Indian summers, and diurnal range on our YouTube channels and also on our website. So check that out and decide for yourself.
Yeah, and you can find all the links to our social media channels here. And of course, tomorrow we'll have the Met Office 10-day trend. So we'll be looking at the weather forecast, or the likely weather patterns into next week and the following weekend. Will the high pressure stick around? hopefully we'll have more details on that tomorrow, and you can find that through the Met Office Facebook page and the Met Office YouTube channel. So do sign up to those if you want to catch the Met Office 10-day trend. But for now, that's all we have for you this week. We will be here 1 p.m. next Tuesday, and you can, of course, catch us live on YouTube, Twitter, and on Facebook. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for tuning in. That's all for now.
Thank you.